Hey, you guys, it's RJ. Welcome back to another episode of the RJ Life, and I am not glitzed and glammed today. I'm not. Um, this video is going to be about grief, and for anyone that has ever dealt with grief, the loss of a loved one, or maybe someone that you cared about, but maybe you weren't that close to, but still enough that you grieved their loss, the change of them not being in your life, and that's what I've been feeling for it's been a long time. You know how people have said that grief doesn't have a time frame. It doesn't, right? We know it doesn't because people have lost loved ones from years ago and they still have moments. And I've been in this roller coaster of emotions over the past couple years. Of course, Michael, my son, my twin, that passed away in 2015. It's nothing like losing a child, y'all. I mean, I can't even put it into words. You know, for those of you who are parents, just imagine one of your children now not being there. You know, sure, you've had time to get to know your child, maybe love on your child. I didn't get that opportunity with Michael. He did not, he was born deceased. I think I had said in one of my old videos that the medical term they use is demised. I don't like it, but that's what it's called. He was demised in utero. He basically was deceased. And so that pain doesn't go away. My father passed when I think I was 12. And that pain was different because at that age, I mean, losing a parent, if you can imagine. I know some people, and my mic is on, y'all. I'm looking at the camera and it's looking like it's on this side. My microphone is right here. Hopefully y'all can hear me well. I'm trying not to let my hair brush against it. But if you lost a family member, a father, a mother, let's say that you lost your parents at a young age, you go through life not having them there. They miss out on those experiences in the sense that they're not physically there to share them with you, such as, for a girl, maybe, the prom, getting married, having a child. Or it could be those moments when she's dating a new guy and she wish her dad was there to be that one. It's like, if you remember the movie Bad Boys, I think it was Bad Boys 1, when, Martin Lawrence's character, his daughter was going out on a date and the guy came up to the door. And of course, Will Smith is supposed to be the crazy uncle. And he pulls up there. Those moments you don't get to have. And I believe if my father was around, for many of the men that I have dated, he would have probably been like, who the, My dad was 6 foot, I want to say 6'3", 6'4". So his presence in itself was just like, big guy. And I truly believe that if he was still alive when I was dating the guys that I really wouldn't have been dating them. I wouldn't have been dating them. I believe that. I believe my father would have been like, no. He would have done the interrogation. He would have done I want to know this person. So not having that father figure in my life really affected the way I grew up. I know that for a fact. It did. Now, I know I have a heavenly father. We all do. We all have a heavenly father. And I'm thankful that the Lord is there. And I know the Lord knows what I mean. And if you're a true Christian, I mean, you're not going to fault me for saying this. I'm not saying it in a bad way. But there's something that's different and unique about having your father on earth here with you physically. Yes, there's nothing that can beat the Heavenly Father. Nothing at all. Because even the Heavenly Father created my father. There's just a difference, if you can understand what I'm saying. So my father, I also had a sister. Many didn't know that, but I had a sister that passed as well. Now, she was not, oops, I forgot. I have my fan blowing. Hopefully that's not messing up my audio. But my sister was not my mother's daughter. She was my father's daughter. But still, I don't care about that, because to me, you're my blood, right? I didn't get to know her. She passed away very, very young. She was still in the hospital. She was born, and I don't believe she ever came home. She was born with what, I can't think of the medical term. She was born with 3 holes in her heart. So she had, like, that's what I was told when I remember, is that my hair's tangling up. She was born with these deficiencies in her heart, and so therefore she didn't live. She didn't live past being in the hospital. I never got to see her, hold her. I mean, I saw her pictures, but I never got to physically be there with her. So she's there. And I did have a miscarriage in March of 2015. So I was pregnant in March of 2015, and a couple weeks later, that baby passed away. The baby basically made it to 6 weeks of, I was 6 weeks pregnant, and I think I was like 6 to 8 weeks. So it was very early, And of course, there was no identification of the sex because it was way too early. But that was a pregnancy that I do believe is in heaven with the Lord. And I've named that baby that passed away Kai. Malachi was a boy. But yeah, grief, it's like it cycles through the years. And as most of recently, you all may remember, I talked about my brother passing away. One of my brothers, I have 2. This brother was my eldest brother, a brother that I didn't really grow up with, but I was looking for him for so long. We were disconnected from each other for years, and we found each other during COVID. I would say my family found him, and they connected us together. And there's this video that I've shared with some of my close friends. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is a tearjerker." I feel like if you would have shared that on social media, it would have went viral. But I believe it would have too. I hadn't seen him in years. All I had throughout the years were pictures of him, and then one day it was like he was pulling up to my house, and the funny part about it was when he pulled up to my house, he had the same exact car that I had. And I didn't know that beforehand. He just pulled up and he had the same exact car that I had at the time. And I was like, get the freak out of here. Who would have known you would have had the same car? But it's just, and he was tall, like our dad. Johnny was 6'2". So, between losing a parent, losing children, losing siblings, it gets kind of hard to process all the grief. And lately I've been in a funk. A funk, to say the least. Really, it's just lack of motivation. I really have to push through it. I'm thankful that I have friends. I'm thankful that I have my church, and I'm thankful that, of course, I have the Lord, because I've still been able all these years through the grief to be able to push those things aside, love on my son that's still here, to be able to still function as a employee with my job, to still be able to take care of my home as a homeowner, to still be able to drive my car, take care of my maintenance of my car, to still be able to take care of my dog. I'm a dog owner. I've still been able to take care of my body, not to the degree I probably could have, because grief does different things to the body. If you've ever experienced grief, you know that it can mess with your hormones. I've been able to sustain, and I believe that's because, of course, the Lord will be able to sustain you. So where am I going with this conversation? I just want to let someone out there know who might be dealing with grief. The holidays are coming up. I know I'm not trying to push it out there. Wait a minute. Hold on. Because I get it. I've seen people say, oh my goodness, it's still August, even though today technically is the last day of August. I've heard people say, it's still August. Why do I see stuff up for the fall? Why do I see stuff up for the holidays coming up? I don't know. They do this every year. You know why they do it. They're pushing sales out. They're trying to get people to buy before things get crazy. I'm just saying the holidays can make it harder for people and the time change. So if you didn't know about it, there's this I don't know if they call it a disorder. It's called SAD, seasonal something depression, and a lot of people go through it during the season when the change in daylight savings happens. You know, at some point you're going to wake up and it's going to be dark outside. For those of you that work from home or work in the office, you go out in the darkness, you come home in the darkness because it's just that time of year. It starts to get cooler, temperatures change. Those things affect your hormones. It affects your, you know, the way you function. For some people don't deal with sad during the holidays. They don't. I don't think I've ever really dealt with it, but because my son Michael that passed away in October of 2015. October has always just been a hard month for years. To, you know, I had to push myself to even want to celebrate the holidays. I was pretty big on celebrating the holidays. Now, I'm better with doing those things for my son because he deserves to have that childlike experience, and so I don't deprive him of that. We do fun things. We will go out to a nice pumpkin patch, pick out some pumpkins. He's not really a big fan of pumpkin flavored things. Like I've tried to give him a pumpkin cupcake or something like that, and he's like, he doesn't care about those things. He really does like the pumpkin patch though, because when we go, there's a few places that have had animals there, and so he gets a chance to pet the animals, and then he gets a chance to pick out a pumpkin, and he gets to run. He does like the tractor trailer ride too, the hay ride. He does like that. Now he doesn't really get on it, and it's loud sometimes, so he'll put his hands over his ears. It's just too much, but he experiences that time of the year, and I like that for him. I like it for me. I don't know if this will happen years from now, if I'll still continue to feel this way. I don't know. I've always been very aware that I can tell when my body is changing. So I don't know if any of you out there have had that experience where you know your body well enough to know that you're starting to feel sad. You're starting to feel not like yourself. You're not interested in things the way you used to be. Maybe you've lost your zeal for things that you used to love to do. You know, that's a loss of interest too. I've had those moments, and I know when they're happening. I'm that much aware of my life and my body that I've said to myself, okay, I'm starting to sleep more. I'm not really interested in going out. I don't feel the need to do the fun things that I've done before. That's when I know that I'm experiencing a change. And that's when I've, in the past, of course, talked to my doctor to let her know, because I'm not one of those people that feel like, oh, that's not what's happening to me, I'm not going to talk about it. I've actually found that it helps me to talk about it. Therapy for me is helpful. Also, sharing my grief and my emotions with people who have experienced the same, very helpful. I have gained a really good friend. I'll start off with the loss of Michael. I've gained a really good friendship that I did not expect to gain. Going to this annual event where they shared the memories of those children that have passed away. When I've gone there, for years I didn't know she was there, because I just see all these beautiful babies that I never imagined matching them to who the parents are. But one day her mom, a really lovely lady, reached out to me. Like, she physically came over and gave me a hug because I spoke. I went up to the podium and I spoke about my son, and she reached out and grabbed me and hugged me, and I'm so thankful she did, because I got to meet her daughter, and her daughter and I are really good friends now. We're really good friends, and because she lost a son to a twin, we oftentimes talk about that feeling of changes, because she has children outside of her twin that passed away, and of course I have Gabe, so we kind of talk about what it feels like to see the children that are here enjoy life, grow up, get taller, bigger, just to see what they've done, and to know that the twin that did not make it did not get to experience that here on earth. Now, this doesn't negate the fact that I don't put past the Lord that my son Michael and my other child that's in heaven is not living a great life. I know that they are. I know that they're not sad. There is no sadness in heaven. I know that they're not um, in pain or hurt. They are living their best life, like times a million, because they're in heaven. It is just that when you look at your child that is still here, and then you know you have one that is not, I think it's natural to say, I wonder what they would have been doing. I wonder how their interactions would have been as siblings, because I have had two brothers. I've got to experience life as being a sister twice. Maybe not the full connection the same way for the same number of years, but I've had one brother, at least that I was close to for years, that I got to experience that brotherly, sisterly bond with. And then years later, my other brother, I got to experience that brother sisterly bond with. I don't know what it's like to be a single child. I don't know that experience. And that sometimes is the part that's hard for me, is seeing my son grow up and seeing him play with other kids, but knowing that Gabriel is just it. That's hard. So yes, I'm thankful for my relationship with her. She's a very sweet lady, and we talk about our feelings, and I'm thankful that she finds security and safety in me to talk about her son, her family, her thoughts. And I feel the same about her, that we have come connected that way, because it does help. It does, really does. It feels like, wow, I finally get someone that gets what this feels like. Then when it comes to losing my dad, I don't really have any friends that I know that have lost a father, so to speak, in a way that we talk about it. I do have friends that have lost their dad, and they tell me that they were definitely a daddy's girl. They were close to their father. But it's not something that I can say is the same connection that I have with my friend that lost a son. You know what I mean? And I think there's just, because it's just a difference when you lose a child. I think that pain is like nothing you can ever imagine until you've done it. When it comes to losing my brother, I've had friends that have lost siblings. I think grief all together is just sucks. So what do you do with that? I would say, for you who are dealing with grief, I pray that, first of all, you find comfort in knowing that you're not alone. I pray that you find peace at times when it comes to know that your loved one, who you love dearly, loved you back, and especially if you lost a child. I mean, God knows it's very deep pain. But I pray that you know that your child is in heaven. I pray you know that. So what else do you do? I try to keep busy. And of course, being a mom, being a parent, you're busy a lot, right? You're busy. I find myself doing things that give me peace, which is, of course, reading my Bible. But do you all get these? If not, you can sign up on the website. It's if you type in Our Daily Bread Ministries, it'll take you to the website, and you can actually have these sent to your home for free. There's no cost. It's Our Daily Bread. And many of you probably do know what these are, but for those of you that don't, I want to welcome you to get to know this, because these little pocket books, not pocket book, but these little pockets of little books come in handy, because you can take them anywhere you want. Now, I can't find my June, July, August book. I can't find it. But this is the September, October, November edition. So I pour into these scriptures. I pour into Our Daily Bread. I make notes in them. And sometimes if I find a really good one that stuck to me, I'll keep them. So this is the spring one. This was March, April, and May. And this one was before that, the December, January, February edition of 23-24. I keep these sometimes because if something really sticks out to me, I'll keep it. But at some point, I'll take the notes out of it and I'll put them on my computer so I can get these, trashed and thrown out. So I'm not like hoarding them. But of course, also my Bible. So for all of my, I don't know why I did that. For all of my RJ fans, you may already know this about me, but I have, or subscribers, I have 5 Bibles. I believe it's 5. It may be 6 because I just got another one. Different versions of the Bible. New King James, NIV, ESV, the Message, Amplified Bible, AMP. Did I say CES already? I've gotten a few. So this one is an NLT version Bible. This is the Jesus-centered Bible. I know you saw that. I read the Bible, but I keep little... This is obviously from last fall. Yeah, I gotta get rid of this. I know. I have tabs that I keep, and what I'll do is I'll forget to tab it, and I'll find something nearby me at the time, and I'll just stick it in there, and I'll be like, oh, I forgot to take that part out. I gotta do better with that. Now, I do have these really nice markers. They're not even markers. They're a not felt. They're like a crayon, but they don't go through to the other page, which I love about those, and I'll show you guys that later. But that's one of the things that I do, is that I take refuge in my Bible. I take refuge in talking to the Lord, just to pull me back in, because grief can really knock you out if you've ever experienced it. There are so many days where if you're my friend and I talk to you on a regular, and then all of a sudden I don't take it personal. I really have experienced this with my friends before, and thankfully, I want to say, if you do have good friends, good people in your circle, they'll understand if you tell them that you're going through something, especially those people that are in your life and they know what you've gone through. They should have grace for you to understand that it's not you. It really is a part of the process of grieving, where you pull back a little bit and you need time to yourself. I've had to, and let me say, you also have to be open with your friends and family in your circle. So you just can't go cold turkey without talking to people and not expect them to feel some kind of way. But you don't have to divulge everything. You can just say, I'm going through some things. This is not about you. I'll reach out to you soon. My thing is, a lot of my family, I want to say my friends, which are my family, my church even, I have expressed to them my grief, my pain, the things I've gone through recently and in the past, that they know me well enough to know that if I back away, in the sense that if you text me, call me, and I don't answer, I'm really one of those people that really call people back. I gotta say, I will call you back if you call me and I miss your call. If you text me, I gotta say that I am one of those people that if you text me and I start my text off, if something sidetracks me, I will forget to send the text. But my heart was present at the time. But life is really lifing sometimes. So I say that to say that if you have good people in your corner, they won't take it personal if you don't respond back right away to their calls. And if they take it personal, I'm sorry to tell y'all this, if they take it personal, maybe they're not such good friends or circle people, because they really would have to know you well enough to know that this is not personal. Okay? So I go to my Bible, and one of my Bibles, I kind of go through all of them and try to see which one hits me. But this version is NLT, and this is Isaiah 54:17, and it says, "But in that day no weapon turned against you will succeed. You will silence every voice raised up to accuse you. These benefits are enjoyed by the servants of the Lord. Their vindication will come from me. I, the Lord, have spoken." Now, you know that's the same verse in another version that will say, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So if I were to go to, if you guys don't have the Bible app, I highly encourage you to use it. I use it every single day. Not only do I have Bible plans that I love because they relate to my life, the ones I choose, but there are also so many different versions of the Bible that you can choose that fits whatever you need, for you at the time. So if I were to go into This is into Isaiah. I'm going into that. If I go into Isaiah, and this is the Message version. No, let me change that. I'm going to go to ESV. And I go back to verse, this is 54, right? Yeah. If I go to verse 17, it says, no weapon that is fashioned against you shall succeed, and you shall refute every tongue that rises against you in judgment. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication from me, declares the Lord. So that's ESV. Now, if I go to this version I just read you guys in my Bible was NLT. Y'all might hear my dog in me because Amazon is coming to drop off my package. So if I go to 17 here in NIV, it says, no weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord. Now, if I take it back to the King James Version, 17 says, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. Now, why did I read you guys that verse? Well, grief can feel like a weapon. In my opinion, it can feel like a weapon because it attacks your thought process. Grief can turn into depression, can cause you anxiety, and we know those are not things of the Lord, right? So anything that is not, what is that verse? I know you guys will find it first before I will even be able to find it, but things that are lovely. Think of the positive things, right? Think of the things that are lovely. So I'm one of those people that, and my friends will tell y'all this, when something pops in my mind and I cannot get the rest of it out, it drives me bananas because my memory is so not what it used to be that it just, I really can't. So I have to type up what I'm looking for, and so this is what it was. So it's in Philippians. Thank you for those of y'all that already probably said it by now, but it's in Philippians 4:8, and this is me going onto the Bible Gateway, which is another good app to use if you guys have that. NIV version says 8. Philippians 4:8, and it says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think of such things. Right? So that kind of contradicts what grief, well, I don't want to say what grief, but what these thoughts may be that pop in your head that are less than what the Lord our God says that you should be, focused on. And there's a reason why, right? If you think about the Bible, you think about the Word of God, that verse is just letting you know, in my opinion, what I get from it is that there's a reason why you need to think of the things that are above and not beneath. There is a reason why the Lord our God tells us to focus on the positive things in life, because I believe we already know the Lord knows all things, and He knew that this world would be so convoluted with so many negative things in life that we would need to stay positive, right? And so if I go to Philippians 4:8 in ESV version, and I already have some of this highlighted, it says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think of these things. And I'm going to go on to 9, because it says, what have you learned and received and heard and seen in me? Practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. I love that. Let me highlight that, because I didn't continue on past 8, and I love that. So I highlighted that in my Bible app. But yeah, I love that part. So 9 says, what you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, right? Practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. So that's a part of the work, right? You got to do the work. You have to practice those things. You have to continually capture every thought. Now that's another verse. Well, we're not going to do that right now because I don't got that kind of time on my video. But, capture every thought. Hold it captive. And give it obedience to the word of God. What does the Lord say? So when negative thoughts come into your mind, sadness is okay. Please don't think that you're not supposed to be sad. I have had some people in my life who saw me go through my grief, and even though they were DNA related, they would make comments such as, how long you gonna grieve that? How long? Why are you letting it steal your joy? Oh my goodness. I feel y'all. For y'all that have felt like you could not be open about your grief, your pain, because you felt you would not be understood, I'm right here. I'm right here with you. And it's another reason why I believe that there are so many people who are hurting in silence, who don't talk about their pain, their grief. I believe there are people who have chosen to commit suicide because they felt no one understood, or maybe the pain, the grief, the sadness, everything, the thoughts were so overwhelming, taking over everything in their life, that they no longer could function. I believe there are families who have broken apart, relationships that have broken apart, marriages that have broken apart because of grief, of sadness. I mean, there's a lot of things that people can break up over, or become for relationships just to dissipate because of whatever, finances, grief, communication, all that thing. But I know that I was watching this show. Can't think of the name of that show, but it was a show about some children who had gone missing, and parents who had lost their child, whether they passed away or they went missing, never to be found again. And one common denominator this psychologist had said in the show was, and some of these parents were married, right? Or they were dating, or they were together. But when they lost their child, they broke apart. Then there are, the stories that you've heard where a loved one has passed away, and maybe that mother passed away. That some people say they've passed away of a broken heart, right? That is, just mind-boggling to me to know that someone can grieve the loss of someone so much that they pass away not long after the other person passed. And same thing for marriages, or parents have lost children and they've shortly after that passed away themselves. Not committing suicide, I'm not speaking of those terms, but those things happen too. I'm more so speaking of the situations where those family members have had broken hearts. They've actually literally had a heart attack or stroke or something within their heart that just could not take the pain. Their systems were overwhelmed. And I can see how that's possible. I think the only grief that ever really had me feeling like I could not make it was when I lost my son. Because I carried him, right? I carried both of my sons in my belly. And as I expressed before, to have both of my babies together, I was comforted when I was pregnant. I was like, I got them together, but then I also had anxiety because it's a big deal to carry your kids, to carry your babies in your womb, then to also know that you still have to go about your real life. Things happen. I used to worry a lot when I was pregnant because at the time, even though I lived where I live now, I had to commute 1 hour and 45 minutes away every day to go to work. Yes, I said that. I did. I literally had to catch the train. It's the, not Amtrak, what do you call it? I guess you can call it like the Amtrak. And I would have to, and I literally, because at the time when I was pregnant, I still worked where I worked, but I moved to be closer to live, with my significant other at the time, my fiance, at some point. But when I moved in to this home, my job was still where my job was, and I had to commute there. And so, with me commuting there an hour and 45 minutes every day, I was on a crowded train with people standing, some people sitting, and I mean, sometimes the audacity, like there would be guys literally sitting in a chair right there, and I'd have this huge belly from carrying these two boys, and they wouldn't even get up. I remember more women getting up than men, and that was really just disgusting. I can't say that every man didn't get up, because I did have a few men that would actually say, "Ma'am, here, sit down," and that was sweet of them, because not only was I pregnant, very much so, visibly pregnant, but I also would carry a book bag or a really big bag to like. It had my stuff in it, and I also was not pumping. I'm sorry, that's after I had the babies. So while I was pregnant, I was commuting an hour and 45 minutes away, both ways, and I would carry, of course, my meals, because I'm having pretty much breakfast there at work, lunch at work, and snacks in between, drinks throughout the day, so I can stay hydrated. I did not like to drink from the water fountain at my job, so I would carry these large containers of water and whatever else I could drink that would make me vomit. And so I did that. For, I believe, let's see, it was really almost like 6 months that I did that. And the anxiety that I had from commuting every day was enough, but I also had to drive. So I was getting up very early in the morning, driving myself to my location, if not driven there, to take the train, and then the train to work, then the work back onto the train to my car, or getting picked up and then taken back to the house. That was a lot on a pregnant woman, especially a woman of twins. I'm just saying, there were so many parents that were like, "I don't see how you do that," but it must have been God, because I made it. But the stress of being pregnant is a lot. And then after knowing that you've lost one of your babies, I was put on bed rest temporarily, and then admitted to the hospital, where I was basically on bed rest to the point where Gabriel could be born in a safer week. Because as the weeks went on, the neonatal doctor said the longer you can carry Gabriel, the better he'll be health wise. So just knowing that I had Michael in my body, but he had already passed away, and then trying to remain hopeful and not, the one thing that the doctor said to me, which is hard, he said this too. I remember he said this to me at my bedside. He said, "I can't tell you not to grieve. I can't tell you not to be sad. I don't even know how to say this to you, but I want you to try to stay as positive as possible, because you still have Gabe." At the time, I didn't name him yet, but he said, "At the time, you still got your baby, and he needs you." I mean, it's easier said than done, y'all. It really is. Like, when those doctors will say those things to me, I'm like, I'm hearing you, but you're not living it. So I guess, I don't know. So what I can say and share with you all is that the Word of God keeps me. So even when people pass away, when friends are no longer friends, when family members, even though their DNA no longer act like their DNA, when you've decided that you want to get up out of bed today because you're pushing through the sadness and the pain, please know you're not by yourself. Find things that motivate you. Think of positive things, even when it's hard. I will pull up a video quick and look at something that makes me smile. And then I also have yarn, so I'm a big crochet fan. And this yarn, by the way, you guys, in case you wanted to know what it is, it's Loops and Threads yarn. And this is the Sweet Snuggles Light polyester line from Loops and Threads. So, you can see that. And what do I plan on making with this? I don't know. I'm thinking a scarf, but I also made a hat. And my girlfriend from my job, she's my girl, she showed me this video on YouTube on how to make a hat. I've never been able to make a hat successfully. Not the way that I've watched other people make it, but I'm thinking about putting a ball on the top of my hat too, just to let you know I'm thinking about doing that. But yeah, so this is my first hat, so don't laugh. I'm gonna see how it looks on my head. So I'm getting there. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. You know, it came a long way. I like it. So I do things that make me feel good. That's the bottom line. Do things that make you feel good. Now, be cautious about what makes you feel good, because you can do something that makes you feel good physically, but it may not be good for you spiritually. It may not be good for you mentally. So like, let's say, case in point, maybe you're a drinker. Maybe you like to drink alcohol. Maybe you like to drink a glass of wine every now and then. Okay, that could be nice, but don't sit in that with your grief or your sadness, right? Another thing you don't want to do, in my opinion, is stay stuck. I get that it's hard to talk to people, right? I get that. Because people can try to understand where you're coming from. And sometimes, without thinking, they can say things that are hurtful and not realize what they just said was not a good thing to hear. I believe that you need to find someone who can be gentle with your feelings. Someone who can just listen. Don't give advice. There are some people who feel the need to, if you share with someone what you're going through, there are some people whose minds automatically go to, I need to fix it. How do I fix it for them? How do I help them? When really they don't need your help in some cases. They really just want you to let them vent. They really just want you to hear them, because maybe they don't feel heard. Sometimes it's okay just to listen. And if you feel like it's too hard for you to just hear this person go through whatever they're going through and not give a response, maybe try this question. Is there anything I can do to help you? But if you ask that question, you need to mean it, right? Don't ask someone if you can help them, and then when they reach out, you're not there. That defeats the purpose, and then therefore that person pulls back because they feel like you failed them or somehow weren't ready and you said you were. So you need to be, as a friend on the outside, the person who's receiving that person's sadness, being there to comfort one another as the Lord has called us to do, to be there to support one another, love one another as we love God. To be able to be there doesn't always mean that they need to hear what you think will help them. At times, they just need you to listen. And then there are times when someone is looking for some advice. And I believe if that person is, a good way to find out is to say, I really hear you and I want to help you if you want it. Is there something that you need from me that I can do to help you? That's a good way, because that person can just come back and say, no, I just wanted to talk about it. Then boom, you know the answer. Then it could also be that person says, yeah, you know what? I really feel like I need a girl's day. Can we just meet up and get a spa day in? Bam, you know what that person needs from you. Simple as that. It's not always that easy though, because some people don't open up and talk about what they're going through. The best thing you can do for the person on the other side is to be there to support them. Don't go quiet. Don't go MIA on that person. Ping them every now and then, text them and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. How are you? Let someone know that you care about them. It may not come back to you the way you want it, but I really believe if your friend or the person who's going through sadness and grief really is able to communicate with you, they will. They will. So without further ado, I want to end this video. I didn't want it to be a long one, but I did want it to express what I know is coming for so many this time of year. The holidays are coming up, and I know many of you that when you've gone to the stores, you've seen the holiday festivities starting. I've gotten all kinds of emails from places that I used to go during the holidays with Gabe, like the pumpkin festivals and things like that have started to pop up. The some Miracle of Lights or whatever, they were already advertising for Christmas. I was like, oh, wow. But yeah, those things are coming up. So if you guys remember anything from this video, remember the Lord is your source and your light. The Lord is your your safety net. The Lord is there to listen. He really truly is. He's close to the brokenhearted. Think about that. Think about that. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And He didn't create us to grieve. He didn't create us to be sad. But because of sin and because of the things that we go through, that's natural. And He doesn't fault us for those things. He doesn't fault us for feeling sad. He doesn't get upset with us for, why are you grieving that person? Think about Lazarus, if you think about it. Okay? If you want to think about, well, how can the Lord relate to me in my pain? Think about Lazarus. Think about how he felt when he found out that Lazarus had died. Even though he knew that he wasn't dead, he was asleep, as it says in the Bible, he still delayed his return back because he knew what was happening. But to see Mary and Martha in agony and crying about their brother that had passed, to know that he was that emotional, to also that he wept, as it says in the Bible, he also wept. That right there just signifies that the Lord is right there with you in your times of sorrow and grief. So you're not going through this alone. Even if you don't have a circle, a community of friends or family, trust that the Lord knows exactly what you're going through and He's there to be with you through it. Thank you guys. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.